Good. You're here. Don't move. Don't blink. Because what I'm about to say isn't comfortable and it definitely isn't polite. But you didn't come here for comfort, did you? You came here because something inside you has been scratching at the walls of your skull like a caged animal that finally smells blood in the air. And you want to know why? You want to know why the same people who laughed when they broke you are suddenly whispering your name like it's a warning? You want to know why the room goes quiet when you walk in now? Why the same world that tried to bury you alive is starting to look at you like it dug up something it shouldn't have touched? Let me tell you something beautiful, something terrifying, something they'll never admit out loud. They crossed you, and in doing that, they accidentally woke something divine. Oh yeah, divine. Funny word, right? Sounds holy, sounds clean, sounds like white robes and golden halos floating in soft light. But divinity isn't always gentle. Sometimes divinity comes with claws. Sometimes it comes wrapped in scars and sleepless nights, and the kind of silence that makes weak people nervous because real transformation, the kind that changes a human being at the molecular level, it doesn't come from peace. It comes from pressure. It comes from betrayal. It comes from those long nights where you stared into the darkness and realized the person you used to be. The soft one, the trusting one, the forgiving one. That person died quietly while everyone else was busy laughing. You remember the moment, don't you? That moment when something snapped, not loudly, not dramatically. No thunder in the sky. No dramatic music, just a quiet internal shift like a lock clicking open in the back of your mind. And suddenly the pain didn't feel the same anymore. The insults didn't land the same anymore. The betrayal didn't break you the same anymore, because something inside you stopped asking, why would they do this to me? And started asking something far more dangerous. What happens if I stop being who they think I am? That's the moment they never saw coming. See, they thought they understood you. They categorized you, labeled you, put you in a neat little psychological box with a pretty little name on it. Harmless, predictable, forgiving, easy to manipulate. Oh, they loved that version of you. That version was convenient. That version could be stepped on and would still apologize for being in the way. That version believed the world was fair if you just stayed kind long enough. But then they pushed and pushed and pushed again until something ancient inside your spine stretched its wings for the first time. Here's the paradox nobody tells you about human nature, the part that scares polite society so much they pretend it doesn't exist. Inside you lives both the saint and the psychopath, the angel and the demon, the healer and the destroyer. Most people spend their entire lives pretending the second half doesn't exist. They lock it away behind moral speeches and social smiles and little fake rules about who they're allowed to be. They pretend they're pure light while secretly rotting from the inside because half their soul is suffocating in a cage. But you didn't have that luxury anymore because pain did something interesting to you. It introduced you to yourself, that quiet rage you discovered, that calm surgical clarity you suddenly feel when people try to provoke you. That eerie composure you have now when chaos hits, that's not madness. That's integration. That's what happens when the angel finally shakes hands with the demon and says, "All right, enough pretending. Now, suddenly you're unpredictable and unpredictability." Oh, that's power. You see, the world is built on patterns. People feel safe when they think they can predict you. If they know you'll forgive, they'll betray you. If they know you'll stay quiet, they'll humiliate you. If they know you'll stay kind, they'll take advantage. But the moment you become unpredictable, the moment they're no longer sure whether they're dealing with mercy or judgment, everything changes. Because now every interaction with you feels like walking across thin ice. And they hate that. They hate it because they created it. They lit the fire themselves. Every lie they told about you. Every moment they underestimated you. Every time they pushed you down just to feel taller, it all stacked pressure inside you like gunpowder in a locked room. And one day, boom, not an explosion of chaos, an explosion of clarity. You stopped chasing validation, you stopped explaining yourself, you stopped begging to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you evolved slowly, silently, beautifully, terrifying. Now look at them. Really look at them. The same people who once treated you like background noise are now studying you like a puzzle they can't solve. They watch your reactions more closely now. They replay your words in their heads. They analyze your silence like it's code hiding a message they're desperate to decode. Why? Because they sense something. They sense the shift. They sense the fact that you're no longer operating on the emotional leash they used to hold. You're calm now. And calm people are dangerous. Not loud anger, not screaming rage. No. That's easy to control. That's predictable. That's manageable. But calm fury, that quiet smile when someone expects you to react. That steady eye contact when someone tries to intimidate you. That's the energy of someone who has already survived the worst thing they can imagine. And people like that, people like you, they can't be manipulated the same way anymore, because pain burned away the illusions. Now you see the games, you see the little psychological tricks people use to control each other. The guilt traps, the fake concern, the subtle disrespect hidden inside polite words, the quiet power plays disguised as jokes. You see all of it now. And the most terrifying part, you don't react the way they expect anymore. Sometimes you respond with kindness, so disarming it makes them nervous. Sometimes you respond with silence, so heavy it suffocates the room. Sometimes you respond with a calm truth so sharp it slices straight through their mask. That's the divine thing they accidentally woke inside you. Balance, not pure darkness, not naive light. Balance, the ability to choose who deserves your mercy and who deserves to meet the version of you that no longer flinches. That's what terrifies them, because they created a human being who is no longer afraid of their own shadow. And a person who accepts their shadow becomes impossible to control. You're not the same person they tried to break. You're something stranger now, something quieter, something sharper, something that smiles while seeing 10 moves ahead. And here's the cruel little joke of the universe. You didn't become this way despite what they did to you. You became this way because of it. Every insult was a hammer. Every betrayal was a chisel. Every moment of humiliation carved away the weak pieces of your old identity until only the core remained. Now what stands in their presence isn't the fragile version they remember. Now it's something refined by pressure, something calm in chaos, something capable of both forgiveness and destruction and wise enough to know when each one is appropriate. That's the thing about evolution through pain. It doesn't make you evil. It makes you awake. And once you're awake, you can never go back to sleep. So let them whisper. Let them wonder. Let them stare a little too long when you walk into the room. Because deep down, even if they can't explain it, they feel it. They crossed you. And in doing so, they didn't destroy you, they revealed you. They accidentally woke something divine inside a human being who now understands the oldest paradox in existence. The same fire that can burn the world can also light it. And now you finally know how to hold the match. Stay right there. Don't look away now, because the part we're about to talk about, that's the part most people run from. The part where you stop pretending the transformation was clean. The part where you admit something inside you didn't just wake up, it sharpened its teeth. See, the funny thing about people who cross you is that they always believe pain has only one outcome. They think pain turns people into victims, into quiet little ghosts who spend the rest of their lives limping around emotionally, asking the world for permission to breathe. They think when they humiliate you, when they corner you, when they laugh at your lowest moment, that you'll fold, that you'll shrink, that you'll slowly dissolve into the background like a mistake. Nobody remembers, but they never consider the other possibility, the rarer possibility, the dangerous one. That sometimes pain doesn't shrink a person, sometimes pain upgrades them. You see, most humans live their lives on autopilot. Soft routines, soft opinions, soft identities. They walk through life half asleep, half aware, following scripts written by other people. Be nice. Stay quiet, don't make waves. Forgive everything, smile even when you're bleeding. But pain, real pain, the kind that cracks your ribs open emotionally and makes you question the entire structure of reality. That kind of pain rips the autopilot right out of your chest, and suddenly you're awake. Pain forced you to look at the world without filters, no illusions, no comforting lies. You saw the games people play. You saw how fragile loyalty really is. You saw how quickly smiles turn into knives the moment you stop being useful. That realization alone changes a person forever, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the truth is this: people don't fear evil nearly as much as they fear unpredictability. Evil is predictable. Evil has patterns. Evil announces itself loudly. But unpredictability, that's chaos wrapped in calm skin. That's someone who doesn't follow the emotional rules anymore. That's someone who learned to observe before reacting. That's someone like you now. Look at yourself honestly for a second. Something about you has changed, hasn't it? You notice things you didn't notice before. Little shifts in tone, micro-expressions on faces, the subtle hesitation in someone's voice when they're lying to you. You read rooms differently now. You walk into a space and instantly feel the tension, the politics, the hidden hierarchies. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. Pain sharpened your perception like a blade dragged across stone. And awareness. Oh, that's terrifying for people who rely on manipulation to survive, because manipulators thrive in the dark. They thrive when you're emotionally predictable, when they know exactly which buttons to press to make you react. Anger, guilt, fear, sympathy. They study those emotional switches like engineers studying machinery. But the moment you stop reacting the way they expect, their entire system collapses. Have you noticed that? The confusion on their faces when you don't explode anymore? When you don't beg for explanations anymore? When you don't chase closure anymore? It makes them uncomfortable because silence is a mirror. And in that silence, they start hearing their own thoughts echo back at them. That's the divine thing inside you now. Clears throat. Not holiness in the fragile sense. Holiness in the ancient sense. The kind of presence that makes people suddenly aware of themselves. That calm intensity you carry now. That slow, controlled energy. It forces people to confront the parts of themselves they usually hide, and most humans hate that feeling. They'd rather deal with loud chaos than quiet truth. But you've become quiet truth. You walk differently now. Not physically maybe, but energetically. There's a steadiness in you, a grounded weight in your presence, like someone who has already faced the worst case scenario in their mind and decided they'll survive it anyway. And that terrifies people who rely on intimidation, because intimidation only works on people who fear losing something. But you already lost the illusion. You already lost the naive version of yourself that believed fairness was guaranteed. You already went through the emotional earthquake that forced you to rebuild your identity from the ground up. And once a human being has rebuilt themselves once, they realize they can do it again and again and again. That realization is power, not loud power, not the kind that screams for attention, but the kind that sits quietly in the corner of a room and somehow becomes the gravitational center of the entire place. That's why people look at you differently now. They can't quite explain it, they just feel it. Something about you doesn't bend the same way anymore. Not arrogance, not cruelty, just firmness like a steel beam hidden inside velvet. And here's the most delicious irony in this entire story. The people who crossed you, the ones who triggered this transformation, they still think they understand you. They still think the old rules apply. They think if they push the same buttons, you react the same way. But those buttons don't exist anymore, and they burned away. Pain melted them down. Now, when they try their old tricks, they're met with something unfamiliar. A calm smile, a curious tilt of your head, the silence so heavy it feels like gravity. And that's when the panic begins. Because humans are deadly uncomfortable when their mental map of someone stops working. They start asking themselves quiet questions. Why isn't this affecting them anymore? Why are they so calm? What do they know that I don't? And the most dangerous question of all, what if I misjudge them completely? That's when the shift happens. Respect starts creeping in where mockery used to live. Caution starts replacing arrogance, because now they're dealing with someone who understands both sides of human nature. You know the light. You know the darkness. You know the kindness that heals, and you know the cold clarity that ends nonsense instantly. You're no longer trapped in one identity. You're fluid. You're adaptive, and adaptability. That's the ultimate survival trait. Think about the most powerful forces in nature: water, fire, evolution itself. They don't rely on rigidity. They rely on adaptation, on constant adjustment. And that's what you became through pain. Adaptive. You can be warm when warmth is deserved. You can be merciless when boundaries are violated. You can be playful one moment and frighteningly serious the next. People can't categorize you anymore. And humans fear what they cannot categorize. That's why they're watching you now, quietly, carefully, trying to understand the new version of you that emerged from the wreckage they helped create. But here's the truth. They'll never fully grasp. You didn't just survive what they did. You absorbed it. You processed it. You refined it. Every insult became data. Every betrayal became insight. Every painful moment became another layer of psychological armor. You became a student of human behavior. And now when people interact with you, they're unknowingly stepping into a game where you already understand the rules better than they do. Not because you're cruel, but because you're awake. And awakened people are dangerous to systems built on deception. That's why they feel uneasy around you now. Because somewhere deep in their instincts they know They crossed you, they tried to diminish you, they tried to reduce you to something small, and instead they woke something ancient, something balanced, something divine in the most terrifying sense of the word. Not a saint, not a monster, something far more powerful than either. A human being who finally understands both and chooses which one to become, depending on who's standing in front of them. So now when they look at you, they're not sure whether they're looking at mercy or judgment. And that uncertainty, that beautiful, unsettling uncertainty, is exactly why they can't stop watching you. Listen carefully now, because this is the part where everything becomes clear. This is the moment where the fog lifts and the entire story rearranges itself in your mind. Not the version they told, not the version they wanted the world to believe. The real one. The moment you realize something almost poetic about all of this. They thought they were your ending, but they were just your ignition. Every person who underestimated you, every voice that tried to shrink you, every moment someone looked at you and decided you were easy to break. They were unknowingly participating in something much bigger than their tiny little intentions. They thought they were humiliating you. They thought they were controlling you. They thought they were shaping your limits. But pressure doesn't always crush things. Sometimes it creates diamonds and diamonds. Well, they cut everything. You see, the world has a strange relationship with transformation. People love the idea of growth as long as it stays cute, as long as it stays soft, as long as it fits their expectations. They'll clap for you when you improve politely, when you glow up quietly, when you glow up quietly, when you glow up quietly, when your success still keeps them comfortable. The moment your evolution starts to feel dangerous, that's when the whispers start. Something's different about them. They changed. They're not the same anymore. Of course you're not the same anymore. How could you be the version of you that existed before the betrayal, before the humiliation, before the sleepless nights where you had to rebuild your mind piece by piece? That version of you belonged to a different reality, a softer one, a more innocent one. But evolution doesn't ask for permission. Evolution happens when survival demands it. And somewhere along the way, during those quiet nights when the world thought you were broken, you were actually doing something much more interesting. You were studying people, studying behavior, studying the strange little contradictions that make human beings predictable. You noticed how quickly respect appears when someone stops begging for it. You noticed how silence can control a room more effectively than shouting. You noticed how the same people who once ignored you suddenly become curious when you stop trying to prove yourself. That's when the real power started growing inside you. Not the loud, childish kind of power that screams for recognition. The quiet kind, the terrifying kind. The kind that comes from understanding something most people never figure out in their entire lives. You don't control the world by forcing it. You control it by mastering yourself. Once you understand your emotions, once you can observe your anger instead of drowning in it, once you can hold pain in your hands and study it like an artifact, instead of letting it consume you, you become unshakable. And unshakable people are a nightmare for those who rely on chaos to control others. Think about it. Manipulation only works when someone can predict your emotional response. But you broke the pattern. Sometimes you respond with kindness that confuses them. Sometimes you respond with calm logic that dismantles their games. And sometimes you respond with nothing at all. And silence. Oh, silence is a beautiful weapon because silence forces people to sit with their own thoughts. It makes them wonder. It makes them question. It makes them question It makes them feel the weight of their own actions without you ever saying a word. That's the divine paradox. They accidentally woke inside you the ability to choose when to be light, to choose when to be shadow, to choose when to forgive, and when to walk away so coldly that someone suddenly realizes they just lost access to a person they never deserved in the first place.